The Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I am Alex Dingman.
I am Jeff Doss, and man, it's going to be a great show. We had an amazing weekend in sport martial arts this past weekend, and an awesome Father's Day weekend. So much going on. The battle was on fire, and I am excited to see all you guys. Oh, I have not turned on any wrestling there, Sam. So not surprised, I guess. Goldberg return. All right, there we go. What's up, Will? What's up, Sam? This was a
Goldberg,
great,
like Goldberg?
yeah, like Goldberg, yeah, like that one.
The ones with traps all the way up to his earlobes?
Yeah, he's probably like 60 years old. He's supposed to have like his final match sometime. So, yep, that's what's gonna happen, man. All right, so the battle was a great weekend. There's so many things to talk about and start. We will be really relying a lot on you guys to add in what you guys thought, some of the great things, and some of the the interesting, because again, the battle, man, there's so much going on.
Yeah,
It is a very, I feel like I don't quit moving at the battle, but I still feel like I miss so much at the battle.
Right.
As I'm playing a lot of different roles as competitor, working with the team. I have a lot of students there that I'm teaching. I mean, so many times people asking, coming up to you, asking for lessons during the event. There's so many different things that go on, talking to new people, meeting people. But again, for me, like, it was just a great experience. I love the Battle of Atlanta. I've been going since I was 6 years old. Some of the highlights, at least for me, again, being on stage again for the Korean Challenge, 3rd year in a row, winning my division 5 years in a row at the battle, and missing the stage by just a little bit for that traditional grand. But there were so many great things, like, I'll share a lot of the stuff that just experienced for me, my stories first, so then we can get into the whole tournament. One of the things was my conversation that I had with Joe Corley, and him come up to me and just saying how impressed he was with my performance on stage. Himself, Lynn Gregory, even Mike Stone complimenting me about my performance. Like, you can't beat that when you have legends like that. And that go like, when do you think Jeff, when do you think, how old was Jeff when he started going to the Battle of Atlanta? And it was, and they were talking about that. And so it was just a lot of fun to be a part of that. The conversations having with legends, with Magic Johnson, getting to hang with him, with people that had been in this forever, and then another thing for me was having someone who's not even, who's a parent in our sport, but is a PGA pro, Masters champion, Open, the Open Championship champion, Zach Johnson, telling me he's a fan of me. Like, that was crazy because I'm a huge fan of his. So that was a
wow.
That ended my night, on a high note, even after a loss. So it was a great one. And one more was actually one of my instructors, my Shuriken instructor, Johnny Watkins. He was there for me a lot during a lot of my NBL wins, but he hasn't been lately for a lot of my big NASCA appearances and stuff. And so it was really cool for him to be able to be that backstage with me, help me warm up, getting my mindset right for the finals. That was something that was very special to me. So, and I'm sure there's so much more, but I like, there's so many students that killed it this weekend. There were so many team members that killed it. So I'm excited to talk and share about all that. Yeah, let's do this. Thank you, Andrew, because this was a key thing. We always got to shout out these guys. Senior Grands, 30+ men's forms and weapons was Tim Conkle. Women's forms, Terry Barroso, and 50+ men's forms was Andrew Cavalon. Weapons was Terry Kramer. Women's Roxanne Signs, and women's weapons was Hylette. Also, I believe the weapons for the 30+. How did I just miss her now? I know from Team Twisted, from Georgia over there. She had won. Someone help me out with that. I just saw the post recently, but it's been a long day. So, but yeah. So again, this year they did a big change with the schedule, and that's something that I have to give a shout out to the Battle of Atlanta. Is that every year they make huge differences, huge changes. If something went long one year, they make a change to at least try to fix it, right? So we started the year before. They said, all right, we're doing Battle Mania, all those extra fighting divisions, not Friday morning anymore. We're doing it Thursday night. Okay. Hey, last year we had a big issue with the demo and the teams. Yes, there we go. Sarah. Yes, it was Sarah. Thanks, Travis. Thanks, Tabitha. Sarah's a great competitor as well. And they made a big change with the teams and stuff. So team forms and team demo were on Thursday night. Okay. I think that made a huge difference, especially for the way that Friday, the flow of Friday, especially when you're trying to do a night show on Friday night. Right. So for me, Friday was smooth. I mean, you got Korean Challenge in the morning, Thursday night was a good one. And then you have Friday comes up, you start with Korean Challenge and Traditional Challenge happening, back and forth. Then you go into your junior open weight around like 10:30. Then around 12 was when all of the CMX divisions started. Juniors, seniors, adults, everybody's getting going. Then I believe junior teams started after that. And then you also have all of the adult open weight, and then they finish with the adult teams, which led into the Friday night fights. So it was just way smoother than the year before, and again, it just keeps growing. Right. So yeah, Friday eliminations ended before 6 p.m. and we had at least 2 hours to get ready for the night show at 8. So,
I like what Andrew said, 8 a.m. starts for seniors was great.
And they got all of those divisions were done before 9 o'clock, even the grand.
I didn't realize this, when I was 19, 20 years old, when I was competing. And I noticed that they would always make the 30, 40, 50 plus, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, why do you do this to these guys?
Yeah.
Give them a break. Why do you throw them to the dog? And I didn't realize that is preferable.
Right.
That's way more preferred. Right. And obviously 20 years old, you don't know these kinds of things.
Correct.
You don't know what you're going to be like, what your body's going to feel like when you're, 36, 7, 8, 46, 7, 8. You don't know that. And right. To know that at 7:15 would be sleeping in by 2 hours almost. Right. You don't realize that. And you're like, oh yeah. Okay. So just if you had nothing to do, you're going to wake up at 6:30 at the latest. Right. So then you just get rolling and then I know that's so cool.
Yeah.
Right. And we have to warm up, but we only have so much time.
Yeah.
That we can really be I'm warming up before it's all right, now my body's starting to drop, Exactly. I only have so much time before I'm out of my peak performance. I got to somehow keep it warm without getting tired. Come on, right. Give it to me. Let's get this thing over with.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a key thing. And I know for me, when I was doing a lot more of those divisions, it made a big difference because I didn't have to stress about. And this is where when tournaments do it like this, there doesn't need to be that rule where we're not allowed to do multiple divisions because then it's fine. Like if I was allowed to do the forms divisions and do the grands, I could have done that. There would have been absolutely no conflict on Saturday because senior grands and senior everything was done by 9 a.m. I didn't do my first division on Saturday till 4:45, maybe 5. So I was the very last division to finish before the night show. Yeah. So that was one thing that, and even talking to Jackson and Mr. Rudolph and Mr. Presley after, that was something that has been consistently been an issue the past few years, has been those adult forms divisions getting started later and trying to figure out a time of if they can open up 1 or 2 more rings, black belt rings, and get that going at 9 a.m., the same as everything else, or 10 at least, that's going to make a big difference. And the thing is that we as competitors can say, hey, these are changes, these are obvious things that need to improve, that are making things, holding things up, and sometimes you can't predict some issues with, maybe a judge having some issues being, sleepy. Okay. We'll just say that. We're not going to have
thing.
Yeah, that happened. And
I mean,
again,
it's not like that's like the first time that's happened.
No, and this was a different situation than the other ones, just because of travel issues and stuff. But, and then you also aren't, there's different things with injuries. There's people that hurt themselves, several people that had injuries this weekend in forms. So a lot of that kind of happens, right? And yeah, there was a lot of fighting divisions that happened before forms on both days. So I think, we can call out and say, hey, this is something that needs to improve. But what I always like, and I just have to always give kudos to Battle, like they hardly ever repeat the same mistakes twice. They find ways to do this. This is the one situation that they have, and they realize, okay, we got to figure this out, because now they're talking about for Friday, maybe even doing Korean Challenge on Thursday. So there's no conflicts between, Friday and traditional challenge and Korean challenge, and then opening up something more to make that better for the adult competitors. Because I tell you, for me, it's really hard when I did my Korean division 440, 430, 445. I finish as soon as I go. I got to do right back to runoffs right then, and the only judges left are the exact same judges that just judged me there, which,
that's hard.
That makes it hard. And we only had 3 judges. So again, these are things that just kind of happen. And so overall, it was a great bout of Atlanta. I'm sure there's always good things and bad things about every tournament that we can highlight. But I tell you, for me, what I like about the battle, I almost never have a division with 2 promoters in it. Like you really see a lot of different judges here, and yes, the growth it's growing so much there, Reed. And, yeah, John, there's so many splits. There's so many things where the divisions are so big. Right. But I tell you, I do notice that this tournament more than any others, they really push of not having only promoters, right? And there's a lot of outside help, a lot of not just legends from the past, like the 80s and 90s, but legends from the 2000s, 2010s, like you get to see, Becca judging and Marcel judging and those, and it's an awesome thing to see that. Right.
Well, Marcel is like Georgia martial arts royalty also.
Right.
There's just certain towns like that where, if there was ever a tournament in Kentucky again and Brian Ruth was there, you would be like, yeah, that makes sense. I feel like this tournament would be weird without you. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Certain things like that. So I think that would be, that's great. Having past champions and greats like that, that are around and not busting their tail working, but they're around and contributing, I think is really what we need. Speaking of that, I'm gonna tell you, there was a nice touch that I noticed that was really cool, and it reads in the chat.
Yeah.
So I dig that. Having Reed on stage commentating
as things
while the competition was going on,
that too.
That was cool.
Yeah.
I thought that was a nice touch.
That was cool because he was standing and moving. I like that. I didn't like it back in the day when Stephen Oliver used to do it and he was sitting in a chair right there. I didn't really like that.
Well,
But-
and Reed's
but-
perfect for this because
Yeah.
Reed could do this for another 25 years.
Yeah.
Right?
think-
Let's just I'm
Right.
not speaking it to existence, but I'm not saying I'd be upset if it wasn't,
Right.
you know? So
Right.
if he could do this for another 25 years like that, and he'd be great. I think the fact here's what I'll say about Reed commentating is very good, but the fact that John Worley gave him the microphone at the Diamond Nationals,
Right.
I mean, that's about as great as an announcer as there is for a tournament, all right? And for Reed to get that one, that's a big freaking deal, right? I think he's good. But I like that. I think it was a nice touch. He's mobile. He's athletic. He's still a champion. He could be competing and winning now, but he's out there suit and tie, microphone in hand, looking good. It's a great touch.
So that was one of the next things I was going to talk about, Don. I think there's always this this weird kind of level of where we're trying to make things very professional, safe for the athletes, and making things look a certain way. But then also with that, still the customer service and thinking about our sport, right? And this is just a comment here with Dawn. So she says, wasn't allowed on my students' rings until they stepped out when they called their name. You need to let the judges stay by the side when they have a competitor in that division. Didn't get to see the bracket, couldn't talk to them after the fight or before the fight. I think that is
what?
Huh?
What's the justification in that?
Because they didn't want you were only allowed to be in there when your competitor was was competing, right? They were trying to keep everything completely clear. Which again, like I'm saying, I understand the idea for it, but certain things are coaches. I mean, when you line up the competitors, you're supposed to say competitors and coaches come in together. So that way everyone is on board, right?
Right. So then when a competitor is getting their gear on or something like that, and they go, hey, when do I go? Right? Because my mindset is in competition. Oh, I got that guy. Okay. Hey, how many fights until I go? I don't know. They wouldn't let me see the bracket. That's just pointless.
Right.
That's not helpful for anyone.
I think that's just one of those things which again, as much as there are issues, but you got to go back to say the battle was the first tournament to really start doing something with the coaches as far as meetings and things like that. And yeah, I mean, security was intense, which is a good thing, but sometimes can be a bad thing if they're not very, friendly. Right. So, what is he? Yes, we got, we did get there.
That's
Jesse,
messed up.
I'm sure we will talk about that as well, but we're going to get to that soon. So that was one of the things with that,
I'm upset about that, Jesse.
I have, some people reach out to me asking about just judging and more of, I guess, just the whole idea of maybe conflict of interest, right? Which we've had this one so many times, right? Of, okay, if the best judges are there, it doesn't matter if they have a relationship with someone on there. Okay.
Like if Joe Greenhaw is there, but Brandon Balu is in the division, something like that. Right?
Correct.
Okay.
I saw many times though where certain people's coaches were judging, and maybe, I don't know, I don't see it as big of a deal in fighting, but I still think it looks bad. But in forums, it definitely can be, right? Good or bad for the competitor. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I would agree with that statement, because in fighting, you could look at it and say that same thing. Like Brandon Balu's judging. You can tell in real time if Joe is being biased for Brandon. I'm just using that as an example, right? He's either being biased for him or not, right? Then there's so many opportunities for him to get the call right or get the call wrong. In forums, there's you got one call. Here it is.
Yeah.
Your score is this, right? And so the optics of that, wait, you gave him third place. Everybody else had him first. Now he's
Right.
robbed, right? And it's never going to look good because the whole time I can't believe he's in there. I can't believe he's in there. He's going to rob him. He's going to rob him. And you have no idea if he's going to do that until here's the
Let's hope.
call, right?
Yeah.
There's no upside
Correct.
except for the fact that he's a great judge. You know,
Right.
it's really weird.
Yeah, it is. And I think, there's some that they're like direct coaches were in there. There were some where I don't know if there was a prior relationship or whatnot. I mean, I think at some point it gets a little ridiculous with having to get everybody out there. But I know that if I am asked to judge, the first thing is, hey, I don't think you have any of your teammates in there. So before they even think about me being put in there, they say that to me. But they don't, however, do that to some of the other ones that are already set as a judge, right? And so that part seems a little weird, for me. There's just
Okay. Yeah.
do you get what I'm saying? Like there's certain ones when it seems like I guess they're more active, right? But you have
Yeah.
some of these judges that really only show up at Battle or maybe US Open. So it's not as known maybe to other people, except of course the parents who know exactly what's going on.
No, I got another question about this. Don, how much did you say that the
Yeah, so it's about
coach's
$90
passes
for a
was?
coach's pass. Yeah, $90 for a coach's pass.
$90.
Yeah. Yeah.
$90, and you can't even look at the bracket.
Right.
Like and that's what you got to do is you got to say, sometimes when you lay it out and you lay all the info out and it takes someone who's not involved to go, but I don't know how you can't see this is a bad idea, but we look at it, we go, we want to keep everything nice and clean. We don't want anybody in the ring unless they're supposed to be in the ring. So they're not going to come in the ring except for this time and that time. That's what we're going to do. But you got to pay to do that.
Yeah.
Time out. What? You have just as much access as a spectator. Literally, you have just as much access as a spectator, but your chair can be 18 inches closer.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. You're going to pay almost $100 to have your chair be 18 inches closer, and you don't even get to. This is stupid. Sometimes, and that's where you got to go. Okay, we dropped the ball on that. That was dumb. Move on. Don't do it again.
I think one of the other things was, they got to figure out this music thing because they were, I don't know if because again, I didn't do it, but I know parents were telling me that there was just issues with them being allowed to go on the mat to play their child's music. And they said no, that they weren't. They have to let someone else do it.
Which is dumb because it's still somebody doing it.
Right. But then you have 10 of these little boxes all around where everyone has pretty much the same box.
Same box. It's
some different
speaker.
And again, I just think I think we have to go back to every like tournament, every ring has one box that is provided by the tournament. And that way, because again, it drives me nuts when this person, you can barely hear the music and this person's blaring up. No, you can monitor it. You can keep it. It's fair to everybody. And then it also gets rid of all of the other things, right? Like, because what some had said is even so inside they have the barriers, but they had the Century logos on it. So they were saying they couldn't even put the music box inside the ring area. They had to be behind there. It's like, well, that's going to bounce off of those banners and shoot that way. And even then it's behind the judges. So there was a lot of things like that.
Stupid.
Yeah. I just think there needs to be some, a little bit more. And again, I get what we're trying to do. We're trying to monitor it, make it look good and make it look presentable, which I really think.
That's where you got to balance it. And you got to go, okay, we tried this. It didn't work. And I'm like, and that's why I don't want to like rag on them too much and just be like, you should have. I'm not going to do that. All
No,
right.
no, no.
Tried it.
Yeah.
It didn't work. Move on. We just shouldn't have tried it at the battle.
Right.
We should have tried it at a different one, at a
Yeah.
different Promac or a different this. No, Leandro, you shouldn't hire a DJ. All right. Listen, as a DJ, I'm going to tell you, you should not hire a DJ. Okay. Because the DJ will come in there with premium sound that will boom the room. But what are you going to do? You can only run one musical form at a time then.
Exactly.
Which, like, if you want to do that, like, you could do that, but then it's basically just like, might as well just do it on the stage. Right? If you're only going to do one at a time, just do that. Which, it's weird. You know what I almost thought about? I almost thought, why don't we just you'd give the judges, like, you know, like the silent disco, just give the judges the headphones. Just do that. Wouldn't that be kind of cool?
There is, Reed. There is a way to solve it. I mean, well, that's what I mean. I think the way to solve it is have a box that the tournament provides, and it's right there, and then you have someone that runs it. We did it for years at Super Grands. Every one had its own one, and you had that person's job was to play music that whole time. I know it seems kind of crazy, but you know, that was it. Now, a little different because of the way it was set up. There was musical rings, and all the musical divisions ran, you know, like 4 different musical rings, and they did that. So there was some back and forth, which makes that part a little harder on the running when we are used to keeping one age group and all their divisions in one. So I get that, but I don't know. I mean, I think there's a way to do it. The other end, there was something else I wanted to talk about. So we already talked about this judging. What is missing with judging in our sport? And let's go with the form side. You know, I've had a lot of just talks with and of course, when Marcel and I sit down, we just talk about what we would like to see, what, you know, and then we bring in Master Juan, and then we bring in, you know, whoever else, Caitlin, and then Mark Canizato's over there, and you see all kinds of different people from all over the place, and Terry Kramer, and just, you know, like, what is the criteria? People are still asking that when it comes to like the Korean Challenge. People are asking that as far as like, what do judges want to see these days? Do they want to see some change in the tempo? Do they want to see a creative form? Do they just want to see something fast?
But it doesn't matter what they want to see. And
that's the thing, is it shouldn't be matter what they want to see. It should be, hey, this is the criteria, and then here's the way you can kind of make it your own as a competitor, right? With the creativity. So I just feel like there's some things like that I saw some judges doing a great job on that, and really rewarding and awarding those competitors for martial arts and then for creativity. And then you see some that just the same old, right? So that part's very interesting. Let's see. Well, yeah, you got to pay the judges. So yeah. So yeah, that's exactly what they did there, Sam. So they had music on Friday, back to back for CMA. With 2 rings running, 1 person in charge of each box. It's really up to the promoters and coordinators to decide if they want to implement this. Yeah, I agree, Sam. That works well. That was something we always did in my tournament as well. All right, let's hear some other things, guys, just about it. And again, we don't want to just rag on the judges, but again, let's go back to what I was talking about when it comes
to fighting judges were pretty good.
Exactly. So we'll get to
that.
Thought
that was pretty good. I mean, I watched a lot. And I thought they were all good. I thought Justin Ortiz was really good. So, I mean, yeah, there's going to be stuff that's just really, it's going to be really hard to see.
It is.
You know, sure. I think that there was a call missed or two? Sure.
Yeah.
But overall, it was good judging.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, you know, the funny part about the battle is, you know, you have everyone in that area and all the fighting's there, and you're seeing like coaches like doing this because of the sun getting in your eyes and things like that. So it's crazy. you're right, Rachel. They need to pay attention to all the competitors, not just the seeds. I also think that. All right, so I like the idea of having something for judges to write notes on, but you can't like when
Do
something
that in the middle
happens
of a form.
in the middle of a form. Now you're doing this, and you miss the whole form. And there was a couple that did that, and that drives me nuts. And I really it makes me where I want to like yell and tell them not to do that. Look up, stop doing. You can do that at the end, or make a little mark of, hey, I got to remember something or something like that, right? But don't stare all the way down. Do all this because you're really missing a lot, right? Um,
So Jesse, I think that's perfect for
boom.
like the underbelts, like you're saying, because you know, like a 14, 15-year-old black belt division, like we shouldn't be explaining what the rules are. But sure, you can go Cliff Notes version, like, hey, you guys all know that you can't this and that we're expecting this. Okay, just let you guys know. Da-da-da-da-dee, let's go. Underbelts, it's a little different. You probably should be doing that. And it's very possible
Yeah.
their first time ever doing that division in any underbelt, because you don't know, right? Even if someone's like a red belt, which maybe a red belt, they've been in martial arts for a year or 2 years, but they may not have been to a tournament like that before.
Right.
So this is a big deal.
Well,
so yeah, I think that's important.
And even the judges knowing, which we had talked about before too, is having some type of guideline of the rules, like a small, so everyone knows. And I went and was asked to judge one of the women's adult black belt weapons divisions, right? And I just came in. I was like, wait, which division is this? All right. And then Priscilla Molina was the other judge, and she said she made sure to double check with the other judge, who was still kind of new to NASCA, and asking, hey, do you know the rules of this? Extreme means they have to do this, they have to do this. That's what you have to do to qualify for this. So that was a great reminder for her, to do that. And I think all the judges need to do that together, because again, sometimes we just get going, okay, which one's this? Is this creative? Is it musical? Is this extreme? And a lot of times you see the same people winning because there isn't a difference in what they're judging, and it should be, right? All those are different divisions. They should be different on the judging. So, and yes, especially I think on Friday they gave him a break, and which was great. Saturday, I kept hearing from judges that it was long. Saturday, it was tough, but I do think that they did give him a good break. And you had judges there that were there just for fighting, and that was pretty cool. All right, let's see.
This tournament is it's 3.5 days of competition.
Yeah. Well, 2.5 days. Yeah.
Well, it's all day Friday, all day Saturday.
Yeah.
And then Sunday.
No, there's nothing Sunday.
Nothing Sunday. Okay, I was mistaken then.
Half day Thursday. Yep.
Do you think we could even do a full day Thursday?
I mean, it could be that way. I mean, it's kind of what they're doing. So, like the U.S. Open, I think demo starts at 3, so it's a long. They're doing that at the U.S. Open. I don't know if they will ever at the Battle, but they're working on some things. So,
well, the reason I say that is because you can't do that with every tournament. Like you couldn't do that with competing.
Summer tournaments is what they're pushing for, is for all the summer tournaments to start doing this.
The summer tournaments is a little different, right? That's where it's like, yeah, it might be like, see, I got work to do.
Yeah.
I can't take a full week off of work for a karate tournament when my kid's going to do 3 divisions, right? I get that, but at the same time, I want to get these kids out of this house. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think that's going to work down on Thursday. All the musical and weapon. No, that's too much. Honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you. Friday went great. Them starting early Friday, doing all that. I don't think. I think Saturday is the issue, and we just got to figure that part out, because you're adding a lot more of the underbelts. There's just more going on, right? So, yeah, I think for me, the changes they made were great, and they'll figure out adding another ring or something in that middle. Who knows? But let's see. All right. So next thing, we want to give a shout out to Devin Hopper winning the Hungarian Cup. So he was over in Europe while the rest of JPM and Top 10 were over here battling out, which we're going to talk about, which was awesome. And he was over there representing Century. And so was Tyson Ray over there representing Top 10. And I believe they were the top 2 in the Grand Champion, the open weight. You're right, Sierra. That was a big issue. And I tell you what, like, congrats to him. I think this was his first one overall, like open weight win over there. And that's huge for him. It's something that he definitely has been working hard for these last 2 years, going over there as much as possible, training, not just competing everywhere, but training with other people, doing seminars, teaching, learning, and just pushing himself to that. So congrats. I mean, dude is just a great guy. So congrats to him for representing over there. And then over here, man, we had the theme for the sparring was Top 10 versus JPM. And it was exciting. I mean, let's just say if you look at like a total or like let's just say Top 10 one Friday, JPM one Saturday. All right, if you really just want to.
That's essentially how it went down. Yeah,
that's essentially how it went down. Especially on the men's side. The women's side, let's we got Katana and Katarina still dominating the women's side. Undefeated still women's team fighting. And it was wild. I tell you, I got to talk to Java, and he's just so excited about this new step for his team and for his role really being, him and Garth Benz, this being their team now. And so that it's their team. And that's an exciting thing for them. As you know, what a lot of like Bailey and him have that same mindset of growing Waco, of going, to that next step, right? And the professionalism and all, and then you have finally Tyreek and Bailey being on the same team, right? You have Kevin following Bailey, so just the stories and everything, the family atmosphere of those guys have, the people they've picked up, especially in the juniors they've picked up that are going to keep growing and getting better. It was wild. So any that you saw, any matchups you saw, again, yeah, I think this rivalry all weekend. To me, the rivalry all weekend was Kevin versus Kareem. Now, let's be honest, Kareem got on the better end of all that. But, man, there was some amazing fighting going on between those two. Heated at times, but I think it's what makes our sport fun.
I mean, yeah, the Kevin, Cam, Kareem, that matchup, the Bailey and Enrique.
Yep. Because Bailey won pretty good on Friday. And then and Enrique said, all right, it's my turn today. So, yeah.
I heard some people make this analogy, and I get why they make the analogy.
Okay.
I get the comparison. And I can kind of see it. It's not the same, but it's different. Saying that the Bailey Enrique is the Raymond and Jason. Right? I've heard it.
The way that they fight, yeah.
I get the reasoning. It's a little different. Like they're just different people, right?
Well, yeah.
They're totally different people. And they're different fighters, kind of, And
I mean, Enrique and Jason have a lot of similarities. So do Raymond. A lot of
similarities, but I think I think the biggest difference is Jason's temperament, man. Dude. There's just nothing. There's nothing like that, right? The way that he fights. Right now, I really like Enrique has leveled up quite a bit. Right? Mm-hmm. You used to be able to kind of push Enrique around. I was probably the biggest critic. Would you agree? Right. Yeah. I was the biggest critic, right? About how he fought, the way he positioned, and he was just a really talented leg that was on the ground 2-3 times a match minimum. That is not the case. No. Not the case at all. You even came on the show. I even told him that. right? Man,
Yeah.
he is getting precise with that placement of his kick. It's not just the placement of where he's placing it, it's his spacing with it. Now, I don't want to get on a love fest with him because he did get whooped the night before. All right. So I can't get too lovey-dovey on that. All right.
Yeah.
So but that's the comparison
Right.
to Jason.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Jason could be losing a match 9-1, and you're not safe.
No.
You're
Well,
not safe.
And we've seen Enrique do the same.
Isn't that nuts?
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm excited to just see where this goes. The rivalries are great. You know, we had the straight up JPM. Now we have top 10 JPM. You know what? I'm excited to see when straight up has all of their team, you know, because they were kind of split with the Canadian side being in Hungary. But Joe is pumped, man. Joe is ready. And I tell you what, like he, again, like on the women's side, they have a solid team. I think at US Open it's going to be interesting to see just more of this action, right? I tell you, after Kareem got off stage and he won the overall, just after Enrique won, you know, Cam is just like, it's not enough. It's not enough. You're going to have to get more people. You're going to have to pick up more people. It wasn't enough. And I love that intensity, you know, and it was awesome, man. And, cause I was going up right after that and man, it was like, all right, I like this energy. So, and as long as it's clean and respectful, you know, I think it's what we need in the sport. You know, there were a lot of late hits going on, and I think we gotta make sure we don't let that happen. But other than that, I think it was
Well, see,
very,
and that's the thing with those guys.
Yeah.
If you kind of late hit one of them, the other one's going to hit back.
right,
Right.
exactly.
And it's you got to kind of be like that. Like, if you can't just make yourself that way. I wasn't that way. All right.
Yeah.
If you lay hit me, I might laugh at you. All right.
Yeah.
Right. If I was winning. If I was losing, maybe I'd hit back.
Maybe
right?
not.
Because then you're losing and getting beat up. You don't want that.
No,
You can have
no.
one of them. You can't have both.
But I tell you, like, that team fight was awesome. It was a great team fight. Came down to the end. You know, big kudos to Tyreek to really pulling that win off for them. And then I tell you what, man, the one of the best things for me on Friday night was watching Willie Hicks and Jamal Wiggins fight. Man, Willie Hicks fighting Kodak and looking like Willie Hicks from some years ago.
Willie Hicks.
Yeah, like hitting with the flip kick, hitting him with the flip kick, man. I mean, I tell you that it was just awesome. And then you had Jamal Wiggins' leg just going off.
It
And
doesn't make sense that he's in his 40s. It doesn't make sense.
I know. I tell you, man, all of us are pretty much the same age. You know, Willie's a little bit younger than Jamal and I.
Years,
Yeah, we're all in the same. And I tell you, all of us have kept in pretty darn good shape for that, man. We talk about it all the time.
With that, just to be able, like, that's the thing, is anyone of just using like someone of our age, which is 40s, right? Skill level and martial arts knowledge. We can do all of the move. We can do everything. But to be able to do everything all the time with perfect spacing, with perfect timing, never having a sloppy chamber, not sitting for a half second, never going, like, that's the hard part. It's not the move. It's everything else around the move. It's never letting your heels touch the ground. All right. It's having your hand here instead of here. Right. Things like just the smallest thing. All right. It's doing everything perfect. It's exhausting. It's really, really hard to do.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you, like that was just exciting for me. I was jumping. I was, it was just really cool. And I tell you what, both teams I was excited to see. I love the guys from Next Level. I love Java. I love all those guys. ATL. It was just, you knew it was going to be exciting, and I'm glad that the battle put the 30 plus teams up there, because that made that was just fun. And then of course you got Regina coaching, and I mean,
That's
I thought she was gonna fall off stage, bro. Like, it was crazy because she was like jumping, like she couldn't get out of the chair, so the chair was jumping in the air with her. It was awesome. Um, but so that was just a moment, I think, that was really fun. Um,
So I got something
yeah.
on Saturday. I was watching some of the fighting, right? And I watched more of the lighter weight stuff than I did the heavier side. And shout out to Zach Winder for winning the lightweight grand too, by the way. Way to go, Zach. It is a couple of things. It is weird seeing guys that you've seen in like one or two uniforms wearing a whole different uniform. It's weird. It's weird seeing John Curatolo in a straight up uniform. That looks like a Halloween costume.
Because I kept having to like look, be like, wait, who's that? Wait, who's that? All the videos too, I still like, wait.
It doesn't make sense, right?
That's John Curatolo. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, and all the like the new diamond gear with all the new logo for that, like the new colors and the Red Bull stuff, like that made everything completely different.
It was weird. Can we in the Red Bull thing? They should have just went like they should have just went silver and blue with a little red. They should have just done that. Right? Listen, it's the uniforms. They're either extremely boring, black with green letter, black with red letter, black with blue. Okay, we get it. For your school thing, if it's that club thing, we get it. But if you want to be a really cool uniform, you either do that or then it looks like 7-year-olds' pajamas. Right? Okay, let's pump the brakes. I don't need that much neon. Right? Because there's like no in between. That's why I loved Next Level's uniform so much. Let's do this red. That's why I really like Straight Up so much. Their favorite uniform that I ever was like their 2004, 5, 6 uniform, the rec suit. Oh yeah, made it look like it was like bigger shoulders on the uniform. I was like, that looks cool. All right, I like that. That was my favorite uniform that they ever had. But they've had a lot of really cool ones, right? But they had something different. The Straight Up ones that I loved the most, had like a red trim on theirs, or not. I'm sorry, not the Straight Up. The JPM. That's what I meant to say. The JPM ones, right? They had one that was a top 10 uniform with like a red trim. And I'm like, that's kind of cool. That's different. All right.
Right.
But anyway, back to what I was talking about with the lightweight stuff. Okay. I praised him. Zach Winder was very good.
Yeah, he won the super lightweight division, right?
And he won the lightweight overall. Right? He won the lightweight grand. Well, he won the lightweight grand, not the overall. Sorry. Lightweight grand.
I thought that
super lightweight and lightweight.
Okay, so he was on stage against Enrique? I thought it was Tyreek.
Oh. Okay, I might be mismaking this then.
I don't know. I again, like I'm saying, I missed.
I might be mistaken this then. Okay.
I know he won this division. I know he won the
let's go to the division.
Yeah.
Okay. It bothers me. Someone with that much skill. Seeing a 1-to-1 match and then go to overtime. It bothers me so much, right? Because in the very next match, or the very next exchange in overtime, score.
Right.
I was like, you had 2 minutes to do that. Right? Like if somebody said, like, put 5 seconds on the clock, 5 seconds is a ridiculous amount of time. That's so much time, right? What about the other minute and 55 seconds, right? That's what it bothers me sometimes. If you are the higher skill, if you are the more skilled fighter, like you can actually do more things that can challenge the other fighter, right? Athletically, and you're not doing it, you're giving them an advantage, right?
Yeah.
Now, for John Curatullo, I understand that, right? I totally do. Because what John would want to do is not have Zach come at him guns blazing, because John's not as fast as Zach. John is a great kicker. John can't get his leg to do that. If they got into a kicking battle, kick, Zach
Yeah.
can do more things than John, right? So you would think like John wants to slow it down, keep Zach in front of him, limit the amount of exchanges. When you're not the fighter who can do more things than the other person, you want to limit the amount of exchanges. When you're the fighter who can do more things than the other person, yeah, let's get as many exchanges going, because I know math tells me I'm going to win more of those than you are.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And Zach can win so many more of those exchanges and intentionally didn't do that. And that's where like guys like us who can't do those things go, oh my, and he's heard it from everyone who goes, if I could do what you could do.
Yeah.
But we've all heard those things. Like, if I could do what you could do. And what do we hear? We always do this, Jeff. When someone tells us that, we go, yeah, okay, buddy. Okay. Okay, boomer. Pump the brakes, pal. Right? So we all say, and now we're saying it.
Yeah.
And now we're saying it. Because, and then that's the crazy part, is because I used to be the guy who was doing that, and then now I got smarter, and then now I can't do those things. Right? Or physically can't.
Right.
Zach was training with me like while back. We were training, and I swore, I'm like, he can't get me from here. I'm so far out, because I have to. I can't fight him at the same space I fight other guys, right?
Yeah.
I couldn't. I saw him go. I couldn't get back fast enough. All right. And it wasn't a blitz. It was a slide kick to the body. I couldn't get back fast enough. I couldn't get out of the way, which is nuts. And I'm like, all right, well, that's ridiculous. Yeah. I stood further back, and he got me again. And I am like, this is go gadget leg at this point, right?
Right.
It doesn't make sense, right? That's why it drives me nuts. But he's not the only one, right? There's so many of them. You see that in Zach because Zach won, right? Normally you see that in guys who are like, oh man, you could have done something. What the heck was wrong with you? That brings me to my other point.
All right, here we go.
I like this, and it's going to sound bad at the same time, right? There was a lot of cheeseburgers this weekend.
Okay.
There was a lot of cheeseburgers, right? Now, cheeseburger, if we're not familiar with the term, cheeseburger is somebody who is like, okay, you're here. Maybe you don't even know what this level kind of is.
Right.
You're clearly not there, right? You are lucking out that you drew another cheeseburger in your bracket first round, because if you would have drawn a Willie Hicks, you'd be knocked out, right? If you would have drawn Tyreek, you'd be a highlight reel, right? So you lucked out that you made it to the second round, right? And a lot of times those guys are awkward anyway. So there's a lot of cheeseburgers, right? More than what I would typically see, right?
But I mean, for me, growing up at the battle, it was always like that. Everybody came.
I was going to go there. I was going to say that
because they just wanted, to them, that was a career highlight to say that you were at the battle. Same thing when it comes to.
That's where I was going to go next.
Yeah.
So, and that's where I like that, right? So I'm acknowledging first that we'll say it to ourselves. I'm not going to say it to them like, dude, you're a cheeseburger, right? I'm not going to say it to him. Right? Whether if you think that's you never think it's you, by the way, right? Sometimes it is. You never think it's you, but you got to start somewhere. Now, if they really don't desire to like be and train really hard to do this, but they just do martial arts all the time, and they just love doing it, and they want to compete and be at the Battle of Atlanta, I love that, right? I love that. And that's why you don't want to knock those guys out. You don't want to put them on a highlight reel all the time. You want to go out there, fight hard, win. And if this guy clearly has no clue, like he doesn't know that like you shouldn't do a skipping hook kick just out of nowhere, like, oh my gosh, right? This is not going to go well, right?
Well, I mean, it's that way. It's that way. And I mean, it's in all the whole sport, forms too, weapons as well. And the thing is, what's really cool is to see when some of those people, Like I noticed that this weekend of some of those people that maybe used to be cheeseburgers making some statements in fighting, some that I've seen in the female division, some in also in forums of like, whoa, that was
Yeah.
really cool. Now he's finally getting it, like it's taken a while, but he's finally getting it. And you're seeing that. And I've had some great talks, not necessarily like saying that they're cheeseburgers, but people that they know they're not at that level yet, but they're trying to, they've had some talks asking about like, what can I do to help make myself better? What should be my goal here at 40, at 50, to get to this, how, what's another thing I can do to push me here? What else is something I could try? Maybe not necessarily another circuit, but maybe another type of martial arts competition, as well as this NASCA thing, like I've, for me, I'm at this level now when it's like, I think it's time. I'm ready. Not meaning my forms are ready to compete at the Sport Pumse level because I have a lot of training to do. But me as a competitor, I'm ready to do something different because in a lot of ways, what else, when you've been winning a division for 15 years, it's like, what do you do? It's hard, right? So
Yeah,
I see that
tournament's going to change.
Right. And I see that with so many of us in this, right?
I love this question.
Yes,
I absolutely love this question. So
what are thoughts on competitors asking for feedback from other competitors? I had a girl I fought, and after she asked for feedback on her fighting since she's not as experienced for NASCA. It came from a sweet place, but half of me was like, ask your coach, not me. Hey, and again, Shay, I get this a lot. I know it's a little different. Maybe it's different from forums. I don't know. I think a lot of times us as foreign competitors come off as harder to talk to than some of the fighters. But
fighters don't want to give advice to fighters either. Sometimes
we
don't like offer it a lot.
Some of it has to do with the generation, though. Like I feel like, I mean, let's be honest. You've said, and Ross talks about how like intense he was, but he's given you advice and told you, hey, that was stupid. What are you doing? Justin Ortiz, same thing.
Oh, 100%.
You know what? Like I teach private lessons to 2 or 3 people in my division, like there's just that, they don't feel like, like bad to ask for it. Or if I feel like, hey, I don't want to, I'll point them to someone else. Right. But I think it is a weird thing, but I also think,
well, what I'll say,
I mean, it's a funny thing to ask, but I think it's a funny thing that we do because any other sport, you don't always go against those people all the time, right? In other contact sports, if you have a fight with someone, it's probably 1 time, maybe 2 times you fight with them. If we're doing kickboxing or MMA, maybe 3, you'll have a trilogy fight, right? But with this, you may fight this person every freaking tournament 12 times a year, I mean,
maybe.
I think, yeah, I think that's what's different because this is martial arts. It's not just fighting, it's martial arts. And
so
I think
there's things like that. Like I'll tell you, that you brought up, like, on the show, I told you Justin Ortiz, told me, like, I love his comments too, because his comments are like backhanded. There's not even backhand compliments, just backhanded with a smile. Like, yeah, you thought that was good, did you? Huh? That was good. It's good. Yeah, you sucked. And Ross is just straight up direct the way he tells it. He was like, yeah, dude, you need to yada da da. But it never stops. What I think, and guys, I know that guys are doing it. I think that they should, and if they're not doing it, they should look into it more. Let's just go train with other guys.
Right.
Listen, if you just are sticking to where you're at, that dries up unless you are producing them, right? I had a conversation with Otis Harper. He's in Oregon, right? He's like, man, there ain't nobody out here to train with. There's so much. It's like hours. I got to go there and then there. Nobody wants to train. And I'm like, dude, unfortunately, you're in a situation where you're not going to be able to get guys to train with. He goes, that's what I'm talking about. No, I ain't got no one to train with. And I'm like, you're in a situation where you have to create guys to train with.
Yep.
There's no, you don't have another option.
Correct.
Right. If you want guys to train with, you have to make them good.
Yeah.
So that they can train with you. And then now it's literally iron sharpening iron. Right.
Exactly.
And so you have to do that. Now, what I love about what was her name again? Shay. What I love about Shay's question is I think that's better than asking a judge, because especially in fighting, like
agreed.
Honestly, the judge doesn't totally know. And yeah, well, Drew, you're right. They all train together. I think that's really cool, right? And there's a lot of guys that aren't on same teams that train with each other. There's just guys that are on multiple teams. Heck, go to Central Florida, right? Or right there, or in Georgia, right?
Yeah,
this is like 8 teams represented,
right?
In one training session.
Yeah, and Texas be the same way, So
yeah, so I think that's good, and I think you should totally do that. Ray gave me some advice one time, inadvertent. He's never kind of stopped giving me advice, but his was so hard for me to understand, because he's so smart, but you also have to be as gifted as him sometimes to be able to pull off some of the things that he's saying, that he's telling you. He's right, but I'm also not able to do the things that he's telling me to do. I know it'll work. I just can't do that thing, you know? So, but he gave me some advice inadvertently, like after he was retired the first time. All right.
Yeah.
And then it immediately changed I'm like, if I would have known this 20 years ago, if I would have thought that way 20 years ago, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And I look back at all my fights and I'm like, I didn't even think of that at all. If I would have thought of that then, it could have totally changed the trajectory of how I fought and possibly how I performed and how I placed, right? If I would have just thought that way. So,
right. I mean,
we all have a story.
Sometimes I think that, a lot of the people in my division ask me for help because they're like, oh, he's old. He's going to be done anyway.
But people have been saying that to you for the last 15 years.
Exactly.
People have been trying to retire you. You're done, right? You're done. You're done.
Right? When you're giving this up, man.
George, I'll say what the advice was.
Oh yeah.
He was like, I'll say what it was. So I was fighting and I kept clashing with this guy, and I'm like, I'm gonna go completely over the top of him. And I did. I'm like, I'm gonna come over the top of him. He's gonna come in with his leg. He's gonna come strong, and I'm gonna angle slightly. I'm gonna come over the top. I'm gonna axe the shit out of him, and I'm gonna pop. And I did, and I felt awesome. And he was like, kind of walking by, and he goes, "Man, you didn't try to like do circle movement at all, huh?" And he just walked away. He was like, "Oh, you didn't even try to circle around at all, huh?"
What's up, Abeda?
I'm like, whoa, wait, what? And then I looked back, and like the whole fight, I just went zoom, zoom, straight line, score, straight line, get scored on. That was all it was. I'm like, oh shit, man. Are you just gonna tell me I've been doing the same damn thing for 20, 30 years? All right. Yes. Not exactly, but definitely didn't move like he did. You know what I mean?
Correct.
That's what the advice was, George.
So, man, I mean, we've talked about a lot of great things. Oh, all right. So it's 2 other things. One, we'll do a short one. This is one that was brought up to me by a parent and said, hey, why can't, can you bring this topic up? It's a real simple one, but why, as martial artists, why don't we learn to clean up after ourselves at these tournaments? And he said, you know what, Jeff, you need to say something about that. And usually I'm just like listening to him, but you know what? I think these parents are right. And I think, like that's something that we as martial artists need to do better. We also need to think about if we don't clean up after ourselves, that hurts the promoters from having it at their event anymore. Because,
let's speak specifically what you're talking about.
Well, no, I mean, like, there's been times where there'll be people training in different rooms and that team leaves and all there is trash all over the floor, bottles, empty bottles, everything like that, right? Then you have other teams, like, I mean, I'm not saying teams, any of us really. Sometimes we just put our stuff in the floor out in the middle. Like I'll call myself out on it. I put my bag sometimes trying to figure out where to put it. And I'm like, well, I'll put it to the side of this chair here. There's no room that. Idiot, put it under the chair, I mean, there's so many things that we could do better at. Trash all over the floor, like even for me, like I know I have my electrolyte mix and I'm trying to figure out where do I put it at here. I put it on the floor next to my stuff. That doesn't help because guess what's going to happen? Someone's going to hit it and then it's all over the floor. So when I found, I like caught myself from doing that and I put it up and put it in the trash just because I think sometimes we get in this mode where we're just like focus on one thing to the next, right?
No,
But
I disagree with that.
We got to do better.
I do not think that's the reason at all. Right? I'll tell you this. I would never dare leave a water bottle out. I would never dare leave my bag unzipped and just hanging out. Or I would never, ever dare that. I was walking with Conroy one time. We were just walking around a tournament and there was a black belt on the floor.
Oh, and now, yeah. Don't.
And I saw it. I thought it. I didn't talk a lot at the time. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, ooh, all right. And Conroy said it. All right. And he was like, if that was one of my students, I'd take that black belt away from him. He wouldn't get it back.
Oh yeah, of course. No, we've had this conversation.
Right.
Yeah, we've had this conversation.
So, but that's the thing is it's like, we don't treat that about your black belt. We treat that about every belt.
Right.
My kids know your belt never touches the floor in any capacity. If you're changing, you find a way to hang it. My son, when he's changing, he holds his belt and he looks around. What can I put this? What can I set this on? Was there a hook? This will never touch the ground. It will never touch the ground. Right?
Yeah.
So
it's not necessarily the thing I'm talking about though. Like I feel like
now when you get into the tournament setting,
right?
Okay?
The kids
it's different now because you're not doing that in the classroom.
Right.
When you're in the tournament setting, there's a team. And then now it's like, oh, the whole team is doing this and the team is doing that. Who's the vet on the team? Who's the one in charge? Who's the one setting the tone? All right. It can be advertent or inadvertent. All right. Who's telling everybody what they're supposed to do? And if you don't really have a vet, you don't really have a leader. Right. Now, on a lot of the teams, your coach is that person. Right.
Right.
And like if it's someone that we just talked about, if it's Conroy, like tone is set. That's it. This is the way it is. Right. He would never let that mess fly. Right. So if there is a big mess, right? Leaders, it's kind of on you, right?
Yeah.
There's a culture that needs to be set. And I think with this brotherhood that we have and sisterhood that we have, it's okay to not be affiliated with that person, right? Because the village raises a person. You need a village. And this is a brotherhood where we can do that. And I can look at somebody and not know who they are and go, yo, bro, what the hell are you doing? Pick up after yourself. This is freaking disgusting.
Right.
Pick up your crap and get the heck out of here. And you go, what are you talking about, boomer? Yeah, I could be a boomer, whatever. But if you're a black belt, pick up your crap.
Right.
And then you just move on with your day. Right. But if nobody ever hears that, right, then it means nothing. Right. I know I would never do that because I know if I left that out, someone's going to say something to me. But then the one time I do, if nobody ever says anything to me, well, then maybe it wasn't that big a deal. And if I do it again, as I forgot, and nobody says anything again, well, maybe I just made this a bigger deal than it really was. Maybe it's really not that important. Who the frick cares? Let's just relax.
Right.
You see how it goes? You see how that goes? We have to self-govern ourselves.
Oh,
otherwise, it's just gonna run amok.
True.
But
True.
that's crazy. And I'll tell you this, like my brother is a retired Marine. Okay. And he said something when he was in the Corps that I'm like, I'm using that forever. Right. Harder in the house, I will say. Right. He says, we always leave things better than the way we found them.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you mean? Always? Always? Come on now. He goes, always, without a doubt. The
Right.
moment you enter a place, you scan it, you leave it better than the way you found it. 100%.
Yep. Yes,
I'm
sir.
like, "Oof, that's exhausting.
That's it.
Right. But
Well,
yeah,
it's true. It's
it
true.
is self-discipline. It's hard in the home when you got, 3 small humans destroying it. But how are they gonna learn unless they got someone? It's the same thing. The same thing I do. So why would they ever pick anything up if I'm not doing it?
Right. Right. All right. Last thing, and this is going to go into next week. So, 2 things for next week. We got to pick a technique because we haven't done that in the past 2 or 3 weeks. So we got to
Yep.
pick a technique. So let's remember that. Give us some hints, guys, or some ideas for we
Yeah,
said
if you got one that you guys would love for us to do, we've just been coming up with them on our own. But if you guys have ones that you'd love for us to do, definitely tell us.
and a forums one for the next 2 weeks. But the next for me is the return of Mason Stowell, man. He came back, and this guy just continues to look stronger and stronger. He had that injury with his finger, and it was really cool that he decided, you know what, I'm going to try it out. I'm going to go. He's still, he doesn't have feeling on some parts of it. And
Injury again?
remember we talked last week, he cut the tip of his
Crazy.
finger off. Yeah. So, and this dude just continued to look amazing, right? And his performance in the night show was one of the best forms I've seen him do, just on his power, his intensity, and he's just amazing person, right? And it was great to see him there and his parents there support him, and just excited to be back after, which you don't know what's going to happen after that. It may not, there was a big chance that it couldn't have, been, recovered the way it was. So, but I had a great time talking with him and his parents this weekend, and Mason's going to be on the show next weekend. All right. So I just got confirmation. This is someone who should have been on the show for a while, but I think it's a great time to have him on the show and to talk about, this is like 4 or 5 years in a row that he's won the grand at the Battle of Atlanta. And it's pretty awesome, man. So next week we'll have Mason Stowell on, and yeah, man. All right.
I was actually thinking about that kick.
What is he thinking? Best outside crescent kick for, definitely for me. I would say that is one that was going to be on there. I'll be honest, the ones for forums are a little bit easier. Fighting's really hard because there's not so many moves that people use. Yeah. So you got to start thinking now footwork or best angle or best fadeaway side kick or fadeaway back fist or, there's a lot of different things, right?
Well, which one are we? Are we on a fighting one or are we on a form one?
I know we've had a couple of weeks off. I don't know what that is.
We can do the outside crescent kick. Outside crescent kick, same as wheel kick.
So you want to put those two together? That's a different one, but okay.
What do you mean put those two together?
Like when I think outside crescent, I think taking off 2 feet, like a pop 360 outside crescent. That's what I think.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you said wheel kick. Wheel kick is
spinning wheel kick.
Yeah, that's off one leg. That's off your back leg, fakes around, you switch and do a spin hook.
This is the thing. This is where all martial artists should do the same dang thing, just have different names. Yeah. We're talking about the same exact move, Jeff. We're just naming it different.
Oh God, that's
I learned it different. It wasn't until like the late 90s that I knew that, like, what are you talking about? This outside crescent thing. I'm serious, right? Yeah. So I'm like, oh, like I didn't call. This is gonna sound really weird. I didn't call a reverse punch a reverse punch.
Well, what'd you call it?
I know. Everybody's like, the hell else would you call it? Right?
Well, okay. I'll explain one too. In our style, American freestyle, we don't call a front leg round, or a round kick. It's
What do
a
you call
flip
it?
kick. It's a flip kick. You flip
That's
it out.
see, that's
Yeah, you
that's
flip it.
dumb.
Well, what is yours? What's your? You didn't call it a reverse punch. What did you call it?
A back punch.
That's dumb. All right, that's dumb. See? The back.
And they justified it because like it's your backhand. That's what punches.
I think the worst, not the worst, but the one that do you remember?
What is
I
a
mean,
push middle punch? That's like
that's
3 different things.
a push middle punch.
Push middle punch.
Or when people say a jump,
That's like red yellow candy. What is that?
a jump spinning 360 outside crescent kick. I'm sorry, that's way too long. I'm just gonna say jump
It's the
spin
same move.
360 outside. Yeah.
It's the same move.
And then you got what was the one? Oh, Alex Reyes and Victor put out a video talking about the reverse chicken wheel kick. Do you remember that years ago? And it was like, what is this? And I think it was just like a switch kick or something. It wasn't even. It was like, okay, that's just a switch round. Or I'm like,
But
why are you
see-
going to reverse chicken wheel?
Now, there's things like this. We're saying this in fighting. There's
Yeah.
things like this in fighting where people just have different verbiage, right?
Mhm.
Call it a flip kick, call it a roundhouse kick. Get that. It's really just like how you're calling it out to your students, right?
Right.
That's how you're teaching people this. But if I were to say, hey, that's not a flip kick, it's a roundhouse kick, you'd go, okay, whatever.
Yeah, but see,
And
roundhouse. to me is
Forms is way weirder. Forms, they just intentionally already had a name for a thing. Everybody knew what the name for the thing was, and they just went, nope, we're going to call it this now
yeah,
for
like,
no
what?
reason whatsoever. It was already decided. There was only one name for this move. It was a trick, so there's no way it could be a different thing. And everyone went, nope. We're going to judge it up a little bit. We're going to call it this for freaking what?
Yeah,
I
like
had
twist
kids-
kick, inverted front kick, inverted round kick, reverse roundhouse, inside. All of those are so many different ones. Yeah, that's one as well. That's true.
I had these kids, and they were so good. They were the best trickers that I've ever trained as students. They were amazing, right? And they weren't very good at forms. They were true trickers, right? Like they're that good at tricking. They're gonna be pretty good at forms, but
Right.
like really doing a full form performance was not their thing. Just doing a trick battle, that's their thing, right? So anyway, they were like, "Oh, dang, when you got that Parfusio," and I'm like,
Oh yeah.
"What the hell did you just say?" And don't ever say that about me again, because that sounded gay. I don't know what that is, right? And they're like, "No, you know what I'm talking about." They were talking about a double leg 540.
Yeah, because see,
It's a double leg 540. That's
No,
what it is.
not really. It's a pair
Yes.
of no, it actually originated from capoeira, so that's actually the name of it.
I don't care.
Yeah, so I mean that part kind of. I mean, they have a point. I mean, I agree with you as well. I also disagree with you. So it's like, but like for me, roundhouse kick means back leg round kick. That's what a roundhouse kick, because they actually went around the house. The front leg didn't go around the house. Okay, it just went through the window. So
Just
yeah,
went through the window.
just went through the window. All right.
All right.
So
See, and
360
that's where I
outside
can be
crescent kick.
straight. I can listen to your explanation and go, okay, I'm still going to call it a round kick,
Yeah.
but I get where that justification comes from.
Well, I mean, I know people say, "Oh, show me a roundhouse," and I'll do a roundhouse. Like, no, you're supposed to jump and spin. Like people that don't know anything about martial arts.
Like,
think
all right,
it's
man.
I'm like, oh,
I'm
you
not
mean?
Ryu, and this is not Street Fighter.
I'm like, oh, you mean a tornado kick? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's like wheel kick. A lot of people call it a tsunami kick now because it's just the opposite way that you move for a tornado, right? So yeah, I know.
They should start calling less round kicks window kick. What?
Because of what I just said. That's
Yeah, that's a good one. Window kick. That's actually pretty funny. That's
All
good.
right.
All right, so what are we doing? Are we doing the
360 outside crescent kick. Yeah.
Okay. That.
This.
What do
this
you guys call it? Am I the only one who calls it jump spin wheel? All right. Is it maybe, and maybe I am. All right. What we're going to do that move. Okay. That's our move. Top 5 next week.
Boom.
And Mason's on. Mason should come up with his too.
Dude, Mason. Yeah. Mason will come with his too. I'll talk to him as well. But, all right.
This has been another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I'm Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. See y'all next week.